This is AV Week, episode number 11 for October 21st, 2011. Wham, UK.
Ready.
AV Week.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AV Week. AV Week. It's time for AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of news and information for the AV industry. I'm your host, Tim Albright. With us this week is Rich Fregosa. He is from FregosaDesigns.com. Afternoon, Rich.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning for me. Good to be with you guys.
Good morning. And also with us, once again, is Kevin Iselli. Kevin is the Senior Curriculum Developer for Crestron Electronics. Hello, Kevin.
How you guys doing?
Good. Here recently, CE Pro put out an article saying, "Say goodbye to huge racks." It's written by Jason Nutt. It actually talks about their CE Pro Live event coming up, which we'll talk about in a second. But, Rich, they're talking about getting rid of racks, or at least putting a lot of that stuff into the cloud. In addition to that, their main thing, and I think I've got this right, at least I think I'm reading this right, they're talking about the whole SaaS, so the service as support based home automation. That's something that you've been talking about for quite a long time. That's the future, at least for Resi guys. That's the future of where you guys need to be going.
I think absolutely. That's something that at least the Eskies should be considering.
Sorry, that's still good.
And it still gives me a titter. That with the reduction in hardware profitability, with displays and everything else, and Apple TV is a streaming device, and you've got Roku, and you've got even iPads as streaming devices. They're not anything that a dealer can make profit on. And moving into software as a service is actually a revenue stream. You have to move from the hardware-based analogy into, being a software developer. And the devices that are used, if they're cloud-based or, if they're streaming devices, you're less worried about maintaining that as a profit center. And I think that absolutely we're at the beginning part of the wave of how this is going to start turning out, especially in the next 5 years.
So this is something where you sell maintenance, or you sell. Take me through this, because I'm not a Resi guy. I'm not an installer. So take me through how this works. So you show up to client A, and you say, "Yeah, we can sell you a display, and we can sell you an automation system, but this is something else that we provide."
Yeah, the traditional route, say 10, 15 years ago, was you had the big equipment room, and in every location, you could have the display and then a source device, the DVD, the VCR, the CD player, cassette player, in all of these rooms. And you had
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc. Hey, the Runco, the LJR1, the world's best Laserdisc player on the planet that weighed 40 pounds. I think they put lead ingots in it just to weigh it down. But you had, everything was hardware driven. There weren't any distribution systems, and if they were either using coax, and you were modulating, and you had a reduction in the signal, or you had an extremely expensive distribution system, which really wasn't working in Resi at the time. Fast forward to distribution systems over Cat5. That was the first chance to be able to consolidate everything, leave only a display and maybe a source that you need in the room, and you could reduce the equipment clutter. Now we're fast forwarding even further, where all you need is the display, and some of the content, whether it's an internet-enabled TV or it's something that's coming through the network itself, you keep whittling down all of the parts that you need as we're moving away from physical media. So as you move away from physical media and these parts, you've got less things to sell at that point. So what you have to focus on, and what we recommend, is that you look at the backbone system, the deployment, handling the networking side and getting the audio and video distributed throughout, and then basically being the technology concierge. Your job is to make sure that all of their devices that you haven't necessarily provided, but they're buying by the truckload, you're providing the software solutions, whether it's the monitoring, whether it's the management, more importantly, the control system element of it, where you can have an integrated solution. And we're seeing some companies that are sprouting out of it. Claire Controls is an example. IHG is coming out with a monitoring solution. You've got Cybernetics Solutions, who basically provide a visual GUI of the health of your electronics in your house, a visual representation of, this access point is up, your Apple TV is in good condition, your internet-enabled Samsung is looking good. And these are the the companies that are saying, hey, look, we have to see and acknowledge where the market is going. Yes, you're still going to have the home theater. Yes, you're still going to have these media rooms, but the way that they're constructed is rapidly changing. And going back to software as a service, the way that you can provide this is you come in and just like an app, or a licensing fee or a contract where, hey, version 1 of your software is available today. You can load it on your iPad, your iPhone, and your Android device. Here you go. A couple of months later, version 1.5 is available, or 2.0. And rather than replacing a $5,000 touch panel or a $1,500 remote, you're just updating a device that they already own. Or if they upgrade to the iPad 7, your software still remains current, and you can use that as a recurring revenue charge. And so that's been what I've been promoting, which is that hardware is almost instantly obsolete the minute you buy it. Software, you've got a little bit more flexibility to upgrade and stay with your client and keep present with them.
Okay. Now, Kevin, you guys have obviously you have the DM system, which is a backbone, which is where you guys take a disparate variety of devices and take them all and deploy them wherever. Is this whole cloud computing and streaming and stuff like that something where you guys and other manufacturers that do similar things, where you guys can move to, or is this I don't know, I'm going to say out of your realm, because the engineers are much smarter than I will ever be, and so I'm sure they'll figure something out eventually. But is this something where you guys are currently, yay, cool, we can do this, or is this something where you're going to have to move to the cloud, or is the cloud too unstable maybe for control systems?
Well, it's not that the cloud is unstable for control systems. It's a matter of part of the topology of DM as we distribute Ethernet, right? So now, as a infrastructure guide, you have the ability of getting the cloud to those display devices as well, right? So it's not just using DM is to distribute your audio video signals from a centralized location, but making that single tie at the DM distribution system, let's call it, now gives you the opportunity to make an Ethernet connection there, and to that display that's in another room or somewhere else that has a DM connection point, you also have access to Ethernet. So if that display does have a lot of these applications built right into the displays where you can do your Netflix, Hulu, whatever, it's the same thing as now you're running your data infrastructure right through your AV distribution system. So it's not something that we are shying away from. Yeah. We've implemented the topology to embrace it. So although when you go to software-based, I think Mr. Felstein a number of years ago at Infocom made a really interesting statement that had a little bit of, I don't want to say backlash or people not appreciating the statement, but he was kind of saying, imagine all media going away and everything is going to be, obtainable through internet and through Ethernet. And this was, I believe, if memory serves me correct, this was back in 2006 he made this proclamation. And people said, oh, it's not possible. No one's going to do it. And then the following year, I think we saw things like Voodoo and the Roku and all of these other boxes that do exactly what he said. Yeah, Netflix. Okay.
Well, not only that, then Crestron released the ADMS. Which,
and that was
with the world search at that point. Go figure.
Right, and Rich, we went exactly where I was going. We had a product that we were developing that literally was like, let's say, the epitome of, yeah, that's exactly what he was talking about. The ability for this intermedia distribution system we created, the ADMS, to not only, play your Blu-ray content or stored audio or stored video content, but also now it has that Ethernet connection, and we created something called World Search, where you type in what you're looking for, it finds it anywhere. So it became more of like a limitless connection into media. Unfortunately, I believe Mr. Felstein was 100% correct when he said Ethernet's not the way to do it. There is limitations. The infrastructure, if you will, of Ethernet needs an overhaul. Not that it's a bad infrastructure; it just needs to be updated.
Are we talking about IPv4 or IPv6 or just Ethernet in general, the hardware part?
Well, let's say Ethernet in general. I mean, the wiring part, it's not so much the wiring part. It's the, CMS ACD protocols. It's how the whole, Ethernet topology works. Well, let's think of it this way, Tim. And unfortunately, I don't think Rich was on the call last time. We talked about we have sacrificed convenience and quality. We have sacrificed quality for convenience. Can you get 1080p streaming video off of Ethernet? No.
Well,
but that YouTube video looks really good, and I'll watch that. Right.
Well, it doesn't look good. It's entertaining, and it serves a purpose.
Correct. It's consumable.
Yes.
At that point. And again, the difference though to consider is that you have these two camps, and you have the push for the highest quality video and audio that we can get. Well, technically, you should be putting your off-air antenna up at 50-foot mast and getting, the direct signal from your local TV station. But how many people are going to do that? So there is that fine line of, and again, I love music. I love film. I'm a fan. I mean, it's what I love to enjoy at the highest possible level.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if my 1-year-old absolutely wants to see something right now, the convenience is going to trump it. And the way that most people's lives are led, and especially the clients that we deal with, they have X amount of time to be able to watch or listen to something. And although it's nice for them to be able to get it in the highest possible quality, more often than not, they're saying, I just want it when I want it. And the rest of it, I can live with it. And on our side, and from the education side, to say, look, it can get better. It's a difficult conversation to have sometimes, because we are promoting, here's what you can have, but at the same time we have to be realistic about what people want. And I think that is where we reach a crossroads more often than not. And like you were saying, the elimination of media. How many people have said, well, I only use CDs, or I only record in lossless format, or I only have to absolutely have it in Blu-ray. But at the same time, most of the clients that we deal with, although they can appreciate it, it really doesn't matter to them. If it comes bundled in the DVD pack they buy, great. If not, if they can get it on Netflix or Vudu or Hulu Plus or any of those others, it worked.
Oh, sure. And I mean, it even pushed further into the convenience of what we've settled for. But agreeing with what you said, Rich, but I thought something you did say was fascinating. Like, I want it because I want it, or I want it now, and I have so little time. We've actually progressed that into, when you're buying a car, you got to make sure you have that entertainment system in there, right? Entertain the kids. I'm really good at I Spy, and name that state's license plate. Those are the games we had.
My 1-year-old and my 7-year-old have their own iPad.
Oh, Rich, no.
Oh, not. They have their own physical devices, because at that point, it's just on a plane trip or traveling around. It's amazing, how we're leveraging technology for families.
I'm so not letting my kids play with your kids.
He's walking. Oh, well, the funniest thing, I think I talked about it before, is that my son walked up to my mother's laptop, and he kept trying to swipe at her screen, and he was angry that it wasn't responding. So he's already gesture based at this point. We've indoctrinated a new generation of gesture based children at this point.
I think that is the social equivalent of, they get to stay out till midnight. Why can't I?
Yeah, that is. this whole conversation started from CE Pro. Our good friend Julie Jacobson, her gang is putting together a virtual trade show, and I kind of pressed her on this a couple weeks ago about what that means. It actually is kind of cool for people who don't have the time or the budget to go around. It's next Thursday, depending on when you're listening to this. It's Thursday, October 27th. How about that? It's at ceprolive.com. It is a virtual trade show. That means you're sitting at your computer, you're going through virtual booths, you're listening to virtual keynotes, and I think there's actually some kind of interactivity with some of the discussions. So
I believe they've already started recording some of the webinar information.
Well, and that's where this article came from. This article came from one of the talks that they've already recorded, which was 8 megatrends and how they will affect your business. So that's the keynote, and that's where this whole SaaS article came from CE Pro. So from Jason. So check that out if you're interested.
Yeah. I was about to say is that with CE Pro and Julie, I mean, she's fantastic. And again, it's a great opportunity to get introduced to some of these companies that I was speaking about, who are obviously on this new wave. And, I think it's something integrators should definitely focus on, at least listening to and expanding their awareness and opening it up as a revenue stream for them.
And again, it doesn't cost you anything. You get online
exactly
at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So next story comes to us from System Contractor News, but you probably could have just checked it out from Polycomm's news release. I'm going to butcher this name. Vivu or Vivu has been bought by
Vivu. You
Vivu.
can accent it. It's got 2 umlauts on it.
Vivu has been bought by Polycomm. Basically, what I gathered from this, they are a software, they're a video software company. They do a lot of HD web-based stuff. My question to you guys, and we'll start with you, Kevin, do you think this is Polycomm's foray into web-based video conferencing, kind of like what LifeSize has got going? I'm not aware of anything that Cisco /Tandberg, but is this kind of their foot in the water in this, or they're just grabbing the software?
I think they would grab the software just for that very reason. I mean, I with my access to education and the folks that I was talking to, you being one of them, I've seen a tremendous amount of life-size go into the field, let's call it, based on the convenience of the application, the steadiness of the appliance itself, even, and the fact that it's definitely fitting a need that is very attractive price point. It could also be, to not put a too fine a point on it, it could also be all right, let's get rid of our competition before they get, foothold.
Okay.
Which I'm not saying that's what it is. But yeah, you always have a way in business to expand or to integrate into the market, right? You can purchase technology or buy out technology, or you can create it, right? So maybe this is just their application of saying, you know what? We're not going to develop software for it, but these guys did. Let's try and get a hold of it.
So it's more of a brain trust grab.
Sure. Like, let's expand our marketability. I mean, Polycomm's everywhere to make a great product. Now it's just a matter of now we've got this product and we've got a web-based application for it as well, or web-based appliance.
Rich, is this something that you deal with at all with in the residential world as Polycomm, or any kind of video conferencing?
I have, but typically in education and in boardroom work.
Okay.
And, it was interesting is that last month on September 14th, Polycomm issued a press release where they were unveiling their software strategy to drive the global adoption of HD video. So they already had this in the works. And Polycomm is, when you think of Polycomm, you think about hardware. You think about their systems. And 4 times in their press release, in one paragraph, they fixated on the phrase web-based. They are absolutely pushing the fact that, Polycomm and Skype, sure, you can do it. That's, to me, reading between the lines where I saw it, which was more and more people are looking for social applications, and they talk about it, social applications. in mobile. Well, what do they mean? They want people to be able to video conference on their mobile devices. And if they can provide the ecosystem, which they already own, a lion's share of that ecosystem, again, we're going to knock out the competition before they can even come in the door.
Yeah.
And purchasing a company like Vivu or Vivu,
it doesn't matter anymore because they purchased them.
Because they're now, Vivu by Polycomm.
Yeah, Polycomm. Well, let me ask to that point: Is this where at InfoComm this year I saw something really cool that I had not seen to this date, which was Skype integration with LifeSize. Like I said, Cisco hadn't had it, and Polycomm hadn't had it at that point. Is this kind of where we're going with video conferencing system, where you're not going to spend $50,000 anymore for a matrix and a bridge and bringing everybody together, and everybody has to have some kind of codec sitting in their boardroom, this, that, and the other, where we can have, this person and that person and this person sitting on Skype, and you buy a $5,000 or $10,000 bridge to bring everybody together, but that's kind of the backbone, whether it's Skype or some sort of other web-based video conferencing.
I've got a perfect story for that. It happened last month. I got called in to meet with a private equity firm, and they had a boardroom, and they had a Samsung 65-inch TV with Skype integrated into. And the first question was, we have companies who are basically in third world countries who we're trying to expand into, who don't necessarily, we haven't funded them to invest in the hardware backbones for an integrated point-to-point video conferencing solution. Can we use some of these available software products to do it? And that hit me, where this is where they're going. These are companies who would have no problem budgeting for those connections in their boardroom. But it's more a matter of, and the purpose of the video conferencing and the remote connection is, it's the who's on the other side of the line. Yeah. You're not necessarily in the continental U.S. If you are in Latin America, or if you are in parts of Asia or parts of the African subcontinent, where you don't necessarily, we're a bit spoiled. Yeah. We're only concentrated on what we have here. But in terms of the international appeal, to be able to actually bring your offices together simply through a software backbone, I think it's absolutely huge. And again, Skype is now part of Microsoft. You got to figure.
That's where I'm kind of going with this. Skype's a part of Microsoft. Where the heck is Cisco in all this? Because my impression, and this is my impression, is that Cisco and Microsoft are kind of at the same dinner table together. So here's Polycomm over here integrating all this stuff, and Cisco's just kind of twiddling their thumbs.
That's kind of the complaint about Cisco right now, is they almost seem rudderless. It almost seems like they're missing the boat on this. I mean, they bought a video camera company just for giggles, and then the next year went, oh yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Never mind.
All the engineers. One of my neighbors. I'm in the Silicon Valley, so I know several people who work for Cisco. My next door neighbor is an engineer for them for one of the 500 different divisions, and he was telling me about the fears of the layoff stories that are occurring. Cisco has diluted who they are at this point. Before it used to be Cisco is the network. You knew that. That was it. Yeah. In that sentence, you knew who Cisco was. Now Cisco is the video conferencing flip video / you can buy a router in Walmart company. I mean, it's just, Cisco. Who they are, has pushed away from their core message, I think. And I think that's exactly what's happened, is everybody's filling in that gap. Nobody's afraid of Cisco anymore, is what I really feel like.
Well, I'm afraid of Cisco because of what they're doing to different companies. I think I made this statement a few months ago where, Cisco is going to totally, who did they go into partnership with? Control4. They went into partnership with Control4. And I still hold to this. You watch by InfoComm next year, and I think that's the bet I made with George and Michael. That sounds kind of funny, George Michael. That Cisco is going to end up owning Control4.
AVNation, the Wham UK version.
Oh boy.
Wake me up.
Oh!
I'm getting a little bit sick now. We gotta stop.
Okay, Kevin, am I crazy in this, or is this just something that Cisco does and nobody else is realizing it because I'm that smart?
No, I wouldn't say that because I mean you,
That
you
would
form a
imply that I'm
That he's
not
partnership.
not smart, or that he's not saying it. You kind of lost me in that one.
Well, it's a matter of you form a partnership to show an alliance to help boost your sales. I mean, you could go as far as to say, okay, yeah, they're doing stuff with Control 4. Cisco's doing stuff with Control 4,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Do you view a purchase? I'm not saying I don't see it, but yeah, that's a possibility because not because Control 4 is a competitor of ours, but they're and this is not bashing Control 4, please understand. They're a small enough company that they could be picked up for a smaller amount. But when you turn around and you look at what Cisco is doing with Control 4 as a partnership, I haven't seen anything really substantial because at the same time, anything that goes out as their, what do they call it? What do they brand their telepresence, right? Anything
Well,
Cisco telepresence is
Yeah.
Crestron operated, right? So
Yeah.
they're using us for their control systems on all of, not only all of Cisco's offices use Crestron control systems, but even their telepresence products use our products in them as well. So market-wise, you're trying to cover just more bases and get things taken care of, and let's say the entry-level market, or because right now that makes sense to Cisco because you go to Best Buy, you can go in the Magnolia Home Theater area and pick up your Control 4 system, and then you can walk down the let's say the not the AV aisle, but the computer aisle, and pick up your Cisco/Linksys routers and wireless access points, right? So it's about distribution. That's where they're going.
And it's been done. I mean, it was done in residential in 2006, I think. Remember, Microsoft and HP had banded together with a company called Lifeware. I don't know if you remember
Correct.
them or not.
Mm-mm.
Huge investment, big splash. I mean, they had the biggest booth at CEDIA probably 5 years ago, I think.
Mhm.
And then one day, both Microsoft and HP woke up and went, "Oh yeah, that's not working for us," and it evaporated, literally. Um, and so, a large company, sucking up the smaller companies. The problem with that is when they stop being autonomous and driven by the founders. Really at that point, the accountants are going to determine whether it's going to be part of the profit center in the the investors are going to like. I mean, at that point, when you're assimilated in a public company, that's really what it's going to boil down to. It's not necessarily the technology. It's going to be about the share price.
And see, that's where I kind of think that where my brain works is that I see that, at least my logic goes, they've bought they've kind of gotten into AV with the telepresence. And Kevin, you're right. They do have you guys, especially at their booths, running their telepresence. But they see this as, well, it's another aspect of what we do. And since control is kind of going over IP anyway, this is where my where my logic is leading me. It's an interesting partnership. It could lead into an acquisition because it would be something profitable, and it would be movement, which is what Wall Street goes after anyway. Some kind of growth. So
yeah, it's viewed as a marketing or business opportunity. I mean, we can go back 3 or 4 years when the big news, even for Crestron, was the fact that Cisco went and had response to, I'll just say there was 4 or 5 companies involved to provide control interface through their IP telephony system using XML to control the actual room. And when Crestron sent everybody packing and going home because we were the only ones that could do it, Cisco realized, hey, this is an opportunity to create this partnership, which is what we did. But now, things changed, and they're saying, hey, this is an opportunity to acquire some business from a private sector or from the home market because these people are doing this kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
And that's where, let's say, Control 4 is going to fit in with them. Is they're attacking or going after a market segment.
Very cool. All right, you're listening to AV Week. With us is Kevin Iselli. That was him. He's from Crestron, and also Rich Fregosa from FregosaDesigns.com. This week, Gary Kayye wrote a piece on his Rave Pubs blog about Phillips and them getting out of the TV industry, the TV business. In brief, basically, Gary cites the fact that they've cut 4,000 jobs, or they're going to cut 4,000 jobs before the end of 2012. They're also doing a bunch of other stuff. Here's the bottom line for me, and actually kind of for Gary too. Would you buy a Philips TV? Rich?
No, I'd buy a Philips light bulb.
Okay.
I know that the ultrasound machine was a Philips unit that we used. It was awesome. But in terms of TVs, no. And again, I mean, they're a Dutch company. And I think, does it affect the European market? Maybe. I don't do a lot of European work, but I do know that, they have a bigger presence there than they have in the continental U.S. But when you've got an 85% drop in your net profits in a quarter, you got to start cutting costs fast, at that point. And it seems like, again, with the other divisions that they have, again, from an accounting standpoint, they went, oh, TVs aren't really working for us. Let's go ahead and sell it. And they're even having a hard time selling it. They're still shopping for a buyer for it.
Well, and they may just cut it all together. I mean, just get out of it altogether. My main thing is you take this and you compare it to, let's say, the auto industry. Right now, I don't know that I would buy. Not that you could find one, but a couple of years ago, when GM was cutting, every single line that they had, I wouldn't have bought a Plymouth or a Pontiac or a Saturn simply because I don't know that the support infrastructure was there. So, that, and coupled with, I think Rich even mentioned this earlier, that, Panasonic or Pioneer, which one, is getting out of the plasma business. It's a great display, but why would I buy one right now and have the fear of my client not having support in a year or 2 years or 5 years when that thing might start having issues?
Well, and that's constantly the issue of being on the bleeding edge of technology where we are. I mean, we're on the front lines of it. Those are the decisions you do have to make because these are 5+ year investments, and everybody else is trying to focus on a 1 year, 2 year cycle where they're rotating stuff. Displays are a significant investment, whether, it's through the ESCI or whether they're getting it from a big box retailer. It's still a significant investment of the client's budget.
You have so bought into that whole ESCI thing, haven't you?
I'm going to try. I'm sorry.
I still see a big furry mascot every time you say ESCI. No offense to my CDO folks, but that's just what I see. So, Kevin,
I'm a good soldier in that respect.
You are an awesome soldier.
We'll see how it
You're an awesome soldier.
Based on this ridicule, though, I may just
it's just me
name redacted before I say
it. Kevin, if you're putting in a new system, how far out do you let's say you're redoing your house? How far out do you do? Do you plan on, when you're selling your wife on putting in a brand new system, do you tell her, oh, don't worry about it, I'm only going to replace it in 10 years, or is it in 5 years?
Oh, gosh. Well, see, I'm in a very unique situation in my household because I was granted to be in charge of all electronics. As
it should be.
No, I didn't say that, right?
I said that.
But it's hard to kind of forecast out. It's funny that you actually brought that up because I recently replaced a monitor in our master bedroom, and I was torn between what I wanted to do and what was out there. And of course, being a good spouse, I collaborated with the wife, right? Because you have to make sure it's wife friendly.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to pick on my wife, and if she ever hears this, I'll just say, "Honey, I love you," right? But it was
just blame me.
The funny thing about wife friendly, does that basically, by extension, say you just have bad taste as a man?
No.
It's like I always hear wife acceptability. That's by basically that you're saying you have no taste. Let somebody else taste.
That means that we, the nerds of the world, would be more happy with a display that's not a quarter of an inch thick, that looks tremendously well and sounds fantastic, other than I want the thin one, as an example.
Yeah.
And that actually was the case. I'm not going to say the manufacturer, but I went and got a monitor, and it had to be the thin one. Set it up, ran all of the the appropriate calibration tools, and made the display just look absolutely stellar. And of course, I called her in to take a look at it, and she looked at the screen and goes, "Wow, that sounds terrible."
Really?
So absolutely. Well, I mean, you're talking about an LED TV. The thing is like half an inch thick. Where are you going to put sizable drivers in it to make audio sound good?
No, that's true.
Which is the whole spin-off market of the sound bar, right?
Yes.
So
I'm going to go for the intracranial transplant, the Bluetooth intracranial transplant.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
the driving market.
That way it uses your own, in some case, well, no, some people would have a little bit more bass than others. But anyways, you're now looking at how do you make adjustments for what the future holds. So, Tim knows that I travel a lot, and I basically used a whole bunch of free Marriott points to get a free monitor, because my goal for the future is I'm waiting for deep color displays. I'm looking for OLED. I don't want to replace something now that I know within the next 2 to 3 years we're going to see another amazing display technology emerge. I've even heard rumors from some manufacturers that this CES they're going to see a 50+ inch OLED, and
Yeah, but it'll be $1 million.
No, not necessarily. I mean, we already have from Sony Broadcast. They already have a 25-inch, just a drop-dead gorgeous display of an OLED. Now, I did say broadcast, so yes, it's $26,000.
Yeah.
But with everything, you're seeing there's more, like Samsung with their AMOLEDs for all of their phones. They've got some prototypes for transparent screen laptops using AMOLED technology. I like the CES market because it helps drive down it's consumers. It helps drive down the cost. Because what happens when a consumer goes up there and they see a transparent screen that they can watch video on? How do I get me one of them? And they start buying this stuff, which is great. But again, the manufacturers that I've talked to, they're talking about absolutely running with this technology. I mean, we Tim, you and I, and even George had the conversation of how much we love 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now take OLED and its ability to render deep color and actually get, everybody's buzzwords. Oh, I can do 16.7 million colors. Yeah, let's move that up to 64 billion colors. And now you can see the differential and the gradients are much, much higher. And your video quality just goes stellar, right? That's going to be the one that everybody goes, I got to have that.
Well, let me ask a broader question. I'm not a great video guy, so this is a kind of just a simplistic. Is video and the video world and displays, is this kind of like Moore's Law, where every 18 months we're going to double the capacity or double the deepness or double the wowness in displays?
No.
Or is OLED it? That's it, no more?
No, it's
no, remember what they
the factories. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was saying it's I mean, what drove down the cost for conventional displays was, they retooled their factories at that point. So the original 42-inch television was a $15,000 set. It was as big as you can make the glass. That was the apex of the technology curve. We can only make it this big without defects. Yep. Case in point, once they developed the 103-inch plasma, 42-inch TV prices plummeted. Why? Because you could make 6 TVs out of that screen.
Right.
And your overall production costs dropped and your failure rates dropped and everything else. So what is going to happen, and we always see it in terms of those paradigm shifts in technology. And I'm absolutely with Kevin, is that OLED will be that next big jump. It is that jump from when we went to HD that we saw.
And it is that much of an impact when you see an OLED screen displaying video, and you're looking at it next to even a nice high quality LCD display. And it's like looking at You remember back 10 years ago when they first started showing HD TVs.
Yeah.
It's the same impact visually as looking at HD to SD as now OLED to all of our other technologies.
There's a video you shot me once, and I can't remember the word. I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah,
where
it is on YouTube.
it's shooting a basic camera is shooting an OLED and another display, the same exact content, and it's staggering how incredible that OLED is.
Yeah, and you got to remember, OLED has been around since the 80s. I mean, literally that really fancy ultra blue faceplate that you had on your Pioneer radio in the car, right? That was using OLED technology. This isn't really new stuff. This is just stuff that they've been able to develop for a different market. And even Sony went as far as to also at Best Buy and some of the other stores show a 13-inch OLED TV that again was just amazing to look at, and the bezel, the frame was, gosh, no thicker than 8 to 10 sheets of paper.
Yeah.
Right. They had to put a substrate on this thing to keep it from falling apart. But the problem is, again, we as consumers, you see this TV and it's $2,500. It's 13-inch diagonal. It looks great.
But it's 13 inches.
But it's 13 inches, and I can see that 50-inch Mitsubishi.
I can get me some big TV.
Yeah, I can get me some big TV for less money.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we're always bigger is better. It's America, right? The
bigger is better.
The supersized plasma.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it is kind of exciting though I honestly, I'm the guy sitting here going, I hope it's true that come CES we're going to see larger formats of OLED. I mean, it's the technology I'm waiting for.
Hopefully it'll be what 3D wasn't.
Thank goodness.
Well, here's the other thing though. Now I'm starting to, as much as Tim knows, I'm a very strong proponent of 3D.
Stop it.
Yeah. Here, now, if we take those two technologies, and whether you're using frame packing or any of the other 4 different types of 3D capability, and now you put it on a display that has incredible rendering capability, is 3D going to get better? I guess it probably will. It might even be worth taking a look at, right? But
I doubt it.
But it's and gosh, Tim, you weren't at CEDIA.
No.
It's kind of funny, and I'm going to pick. It's not picking on directly manufacturers, but one of the buzz things that they had at CEDIA this year is you can now buy glasses that convert your 3D to 2D. Okay, there's a product segment for this. Apparently, we have to convert 3D.
Sure thing.
Oh, good enough.
I had a better method of doing that is buy a non-3D display. And you're all set.
They're called my eyes. They're called my eyes.
They're called my eyeballs. Yeah.
Oh my.
Mine were OEM provided. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Yeah. There you go. I mean, there's always something to change in the future. But as far as homes, is it a Moore's Law thing? I think even Mr. Moore came out and said that it was misinterpreted and that Moore's Law is not 100% accurate. He is accurate on the fact that the technology is changing every 18 months. The problem with a number of aspects of that Moore's Law rule, if you will, is that we build short-sighted devices. We build technology that is made to only last 18 months, with the exception of Crestron, of course. But, we buy things even today that, I'm not picking on Apple. You guys got to understand, never take me serious. We buy an iPhone 3. No, see, now we got to have the 3G. Oh, no, see, now we got to have the 4. But wait, now we got to have the 4G. Now we got to have the 4GS. It's that cyclic. It's a BIC lighter. It's a BIC lighter for technology. That's why I'm actually with Richard. I like more of the software-based examples of saying, look, I can update the software. Fine. I haven't changed my infrastructure. I haven't changed my platform. I haven't changed, let's say, the investment portion, the stuff that makes it work. All I'm doing is throwing a different software in front of it.
Well, and as a business, the software model, it's a profit center. I mean, when you are selling a hardware device, you still have to pay for whatever your cost of that device is in terms of the overall budget investment. Again,
Sure.
this, the reason for this podcast is, obviously to talk to AV professionals. So these are people who are either working for companies or own these companies. And again, the focus is how can you not only survive, but thrive in the future? And that means looking at all of your options available. And I'm with Kevin on it exactly, is that if you invest in the right infrastructure, whether it's Crestron or any other control company, the network itself, whether you're using Access Networks or Hiji or Claire or any of these people, bringing it back into your fold and your control and your client and in maintaining that trust factor as the company, the people who take care of me. And, with the software model, again, like you said, they're the big lighter, they're disposable. The best thing about it is that, they can go out and invest that money in whatever new toy that they want. That doesn't get put towards your budget. I mean, even just psychologically, it's not money that they're having to pay you. So if they decide to spend an extra $300, it doesn't affect your process with them. You're still selling your software model, your service contract, or, whatever you've got. And those are whole dollars for you, for your company, as opposed to, I bought X amount of sets. Yeah, out of my $15,000 budget, we just ate up a third of it in stuff that I made no money on.
Right.
Yeah. Because the margins are so small. So
exactly. And so whenever you're in a service, whenever you're a service solution, you can invest on your intellectual capital, as opposed to the physical hardware. And, I mean, it's all about, maintaining your business and growing. And, I just don't want AV guys to be the last of the coal salesmen.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I don't really see much of a change. I'm just taking it from Crestron's point of view. I'm not the foremost expert on as far as what we do for software. But, and Tim can back me on this. We don't charge much for room view. I mean...
Well, up to a certain amount, you don't charge anything.
Well, right. Up to a certain amount, we don't charge anything. But then, even when you get the product, we don't charge you for, service enhancements or revisions of the software. And let's just for a moment take a look at Crestron Software Suite, all of our development tools. If you're an integrator or even a partner,
Or an
we don't
indie.
charge you at all.
Yeah.
They're free, right? So obviously, we're trying to scrape by on our hardware sales, not so much on the software side.
Well, I
of
think
things.
there's a difference here. I mean, there's you guys obviously have a margin. There's a difference between the margins for a pro device like, let's say, a Pro 2 or one of your DMs and a Panasonic display. They first of all, I can't go to Best Buy and buy a Pro 2. I can go to Best Buy and buy a Panasonic display that either I can purchase it or Rich can sell it to me. Sure. And I think that's where the integrators are kind of getting squeezed when it comes to the more commoditized things. Projectors are getting like this. Just I saw an article the other day where they were selling them for $100 at Best Buy. Now, it wasn't a 5,000 lumens one, but it was still a projector that you could throw into your home theater. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's the convenience. There's the concept of, I saw this. I want a home theater, so I'm going to go to Best Buy. I'm going to get the home theater in a box. I'm going to buy the, sub $800 projector. I'm going to set it up, and I'm not going to really think it's awesome. But hey, I can watch TV, and everything is cool
and huge.
I think what the industry is going to see is a little bit different. Is that, and even CE Pro did an article, and Tim, you and I have talked about this, is the whole HDMI 1.4 problems of, pandemic issues of integrators wanting to quit out of the business. And, well, the challenge is because the world is moving to digital video, whether you like it or not, and it requires a little bit different understanding of how that animal is, let's say, running loose in the household. Most people who do systems don't ever have a problem with it. When you start to do any distribution, that's when they're going to see challenges.
Yeah.
And I think that's the let's say, going to be the future challenge of the homeowner DIY type of person. They're going to try it and think that they're going to do this distribution and run, I'm going to take this Blu-ray and I'm going to route it to all 3, 4, 5 TVs that I have. And when it doesn't work, they're going to call an integrator and say, this stuff doesn't work. You got to fix it. Right. So now the integrator's getting slighted.
Or maybe that's
value of
or maybe that's the opportunity.
Well, and that's
no.
where,
See, the problem is it's always negative towards the integrator. Their value is never thought of or even agreed with on the front end. It's always when I can't get it to work. Now I need an integrator. Where,
which again,
that could have been,
but that goes
hire
back
the
towards,
professional.
but that goes back to the education side, which is using the construction analogy, be the person who provides the water heater and the plumbing to the house. Let them worry about whether they want a colder fixture or not on the inside. Be the backbone. Focus on the core products, which is the infrastructure, which you were just talking about. If they've got the Blu-ray and they want to try to stream it to 5 different places, okay, well, fine, no problem. Here is our integrated solution where everything comes back to that we manage for you.
Right.
And then if you want this Blu-ray player or next year the next one comes out that has whatever new video game streaming services, knock yourself out. I've got you taken care of in the core things that you never should touch in the first place. It should be that part that's as ubiquitous as the light switch. You don't walk up to a standard light switch and wonder if it's going to turn on or not. Yeah. You just don't. And the technology side, like you were just talking about, rather than it being a slide and it's like fix my problem, it's the complete flip, which is what? You're not even going to have a problem to begin with because it's already taken care of. If you want to play, go at it. If not, here's a structured solution for you.
Yeah.
Well, along the whole software line, this is from Engadget, and this is talking about you guys, Kevin. For a couple of years, you guys have had an iOS software interface. Mm-hmm. So somebody on iPhone or iPad, and I've said this more than once, this makes the iPad the sexiest and least expensive wireless Crestron controller. The fact that you have that app and the ability to control your systems through that. This year, somebody released, actually it was the guy that started a Slingbox, released an Android app. Here recently, you guys have, I'm not sure how all this works, but you guys have rolled out your own official Android app. There's a free version and there's a $100 version.
Yes.
What is the difference between those two? First of all, that's kind of cool, the fact that you have a free version, because I have an Android phone. So.
Well, it was basically deployed the same way we had our iOS app. The concept behind it is there's a free application that allows you, if you want simple control. Of course, a control system is required, but if you want a simple interface to turn things on and off.
You mean I can't just download this app and control everything?
No, and you can't, make it start your car, and there's always some brains behind it.
It's always great to see the App Store reviews on that. For $100, this better do everything, and they forget the part where they said control system required.
Right, and the idea though is for $100 and you have a control system. Yeah, we'll do anything. Right? But no, you're right. The major difference is the amount of memory that you have as far as capabilities of file size or project size. There's a little bit of a distraction of it will. I don't want to get too technical because like if I said to you, Tim, yeah, you can do digitals and serials.
Okay.
No analog, right? So there is a little bit of a difference. You do have, let's say, that same infrastructure in the iOS. It's just the moment that you need to now have this thing, you're in Bangladesh and you got an internet connection and you need to turn off your blender at home. Yeah, that's going to require the processor. It's going to require the let's say if you want feedback on it, you're going to need to have the one that gives you the pay for version. Let's say
you have to have the streaming video fixed camera looking at the blender to get the proper feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Window to make sure that it's off. Margaritas are done.
If I'm ever in Bangladesh and my blender is on, I'm not going to worry about it.
No, because if you ever are in Bangladesh and you have the application, you'll be able to turn the blender off.
Never mind. So basically, the pay-for version, and I'm going to simplify this, the paid-for version gives me analog feedback. The free version doesn't.
The free version does not. That's correct.
So if I want to see how high my volume is, or something else, there was another limitation.
It's the difference between saying if you have the free version, you'd be able to tell if the light is on versus if the light is on at 50%.
Okay, gotcha.
And also how graphically rich you can make the.
Correct. Wasn't there also a page limitation too on the free version on both iOS and Android?
Not page limitation I'm aware of.
It's a memory
font size.
limitation.
It's a
Memory limitation. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want a gigantic picture of your kids and the dog and your summer trip to Bangladesh, rotating through, chances are you're not going to be able to fit it on the free version.
I just don't think people value Bangladesh anymore.
I like Bangladesh. I'm just saying, if I'm there, my blender is the least of my worries. You're
Okay, how about your iron? Maybe
there we go. That's a little better.
Or there, okay.
My iron is yes. You're listening to AV Week. That's Kevin Iselli. The other guy is Rich Fregosa from Fregosa Designs. BICSI joins STEP. What it is BICSI has joined Infocom and also TIA. I guess in one what I'm reading is they're becoming a founding member of STEP. STEP is the Sustainable Technology Environments Program. It is Infocom's and CompTIA's, and I guess BICSI's by extension, their version of LEED, their version of getting LEED points and getting credit for the AV industry. My question is Rich, we'll start with you. Is this a good thing for STEP, or does it hurt it?
STEP's got 23,000 members, and they started out from the telecommunications industry. And I think that aligning themselves, because again, you have the overused word these days is convergence, but it's, and it was way overused 10 years ago. It's now starting to make sense. We've had numerous discussions about, IT becoming AV becoming IT, and they are all of these disparate fields. Are all starting to cross-pollinate with one another. So I think it's a natural evolution for them. Whether STEP takes huge traction or not, again, you're taking it from the technology side, which is the people who are already in after the building is made, as opposed to LEED, which is the people who are making the building. So I can see it being promoted, just in terms of having the members and them finding a way to show that they are working in solidarity with the other fields and not an island unto themselves. Is it going to hurt them or help them either way? I'm kind of neutral on it. I think it's nice, but I don't see any huge immediate impact. It's not like, these trades are going to come together and it's immediately going to, take the AV world by storm.
Yeah. Kevin, you guys kind of, and this is my opinion, you guys kind of get screwed, and so do other manufacturers, Lutron and guys who do AV automation, kind of get screwed in the LEED world because you aren't given credit, or the people who put you in aren't given credit for what you really do, whether that is a power supply that cycles down when you turn off the AV system and the only thing running is the processor, instead of everything in the rack running and creating heat and sucking electricity. So is STEP something that you guys kind of see as a positive thing, or is it just another thing like LEED?
Well, as a former architectural engineer, that was my background. Of course, USGBC and LEED is a pretty sizable organization, and the concepts of designing facilities to be more energy conscious, I think is just in general a good practice. Now, even the guys that I know from USGBC will say, look, LEED is, and the LEED's organization, if you will, is not a fully inclusive, end-to-end depiction of what proper procedures and what practices we should maintain, or even due diligence. It applies to the brick and mortar portions of a building. And now, Tim, I've said this, but I've always been trumpeted, okay, what about all of those devices that enrich our lives, such as anything technology, that have not ever been addressed by those industries like USGBC and LEED? Where do those things fall into place? Because, my argument was, by LEED standards, we need to turn off the lights when we evacuate a building or evacuate a room. But we don't really we're not really concerned with the fact that I've got a projector in there with a 250 watt ultra high power metal headlight lamp that was using more energy in the first place than all the lighting in the room. That can stay on for 12 hours when nobody's in the room, just as long as you shut off the lights.
Yeah.
So I think STEP is actually a really good. It's a really good step in the right direction of saying, no pun intended, as far as we should also look at other ancillary systems that are going on in the buildings, what is going on in the room. I think a lot of our misgivings is that the AV industry has nothing to offer, and that is absolutely not correct. AV industry has tremendous amounts of foresight into energy savings, using appropriate components, using more energy saving components, like even Middle Atlantic with their switchable power supplies or switchable plug strips, where we could hard code or hard shut down these devices so that the energy usage goes to an absolute minimum. I mean, that's fantastic. And then there's also the whole, what do you have to offer the other side? And when you look at Crestron being a control system company, and we really don't have any limitations on how we communicate. We can communicate in pretty much any form. We even have a building management system module, if you will. It's a modem that will talk to large format building automation systems like Train and Modbus and BACnet and Metasys, all of these other third-party communication systems. So now you could look at Crestron as being the central nervous system for anything that's happening in your facility. So we are talking to the HVAC system, we are talking to the lighting system, or we are the lighting system as we make lighting control. We are talking to the AV system. We can manage and use now our new term, and you've heard me say this, Tim, is intelligent building technology, not just building automation. Because building automation, not that it's a bad term, states that you have a schedule, and every day at midnight you turn off the lights, and every day at midnight you turn off the lights, and every day at midnight. Well, intelligent building says, okay, let's look at the parameters of what's happening in the facility. Let's look at my occupancy sensors. Let's look at my usage and make intelligent decisions on, does it make sense to have those lights turn off at 12 o'clock, or should we turn them off 3 hours earlier when really nobody's in the room? It has been, for the longest time, and even in the whole time that I was in the engineering realm, it has been a very adversarial market, right? Where the mechanical guys don't talk to the electrical guys, who don't talk to the architects, who don't talk to the interiors people, who don't. It's gotta, you have to, let's say, all sit at the same table and have a cappuccino together and say, how can we make things better?
Yeah.
And that's just really not happening yet. And I think with STEP getting involved, maybe now we can have a little bit of a flag to wave to say, look, this AV technology can also be energy conscious. And Rich is right. These are the guys that are on the site after the building's done. My plea to all of, let's say, our integrator is get in touch with the contractor, get in touch with the architect, and show them what you have to offer up front. Right.
Well, and I agree.
Systems. Yeah.
And I agree with you. That is the leveraging part of STEP, which is as an advocacy group. And that's really the whole point, is a single unified voice. And like you were just saying, mechanical is mechanical. That architectural is architectural. Technology, it's such this chasm of different things that it could be, that getting 3 specific fields, AV, telecommunications, and IT, to have a single voice, that's what I'm hoping for. Like I said, I'm still neutral because they're basically saying we're going to try it. They just joined.
Yeah.
So there is no data that we can tap into that has said we have now generated this. These are the quantifiable results that have come from us being organized. And that's what I'm hoping will occur as more and more people join. I mean, again, you get 23,000 new people joined in. You're hoping that that's going to at least get the ball moving a little bit faster.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I do mean unfortunately, I have let my BICSI membership lapse, but I was a BICSI member for 10 years, and I saw these guys, at least for the last 4 years, showing up at Infocom and saying, hey, we do this infrastructure thing. We are the Building Industry Consulting Services International. That's what they do. I mean, to have a relationship with the AV industry totally makes sense. I agree with you, Rich, because I was there 10 years ago when
We live
Crestron had that banner that said convergence, right? And we were
Right.
talking convergence back then. But I can see that it's a great step in the right direction to have BICSI and STEP and USGBC and everybody else, for that matter, trying to come to at least a common goal.
Oh, very cool. All right, guys, we're about out of time. Do you either of you have anything else?
No, I mean this is I was great being able to sit in with you, and Kevin had some great information. I am smarter for it.
Don't tell him that. He'll get a big head.
No. I'll send you a check. Don't worry about it.
All right.
And as Tim, of course, I always have to say at this point I have nothing else to say.
Thank you.
Make it out to my Esky account, please.
Oh, jeez. I'm not an artist. I'm gonna get somebody to draw like a little wolf in a, or I'm gonna buy maybe a mascot outfit or something.
It'll be a liger.
A liger.
Nice.
All right, that's Rich Fregosa. Let's see if I can't screw this up. His Twitter account, if you'd like to follow him, is rfregosa. If you follow R.A. Fregosa, it's not my fault anymore. R. Fregosa. And his website is fregosadesigns.com. Thank you very much, sir, for coming by today. And also Kevin Iselli. He doesn't have one, a Twitter account, but you can find him at Crestron. He's out of the Midwest. He is the senior curriculum developer for Crestron. That means he knows everything there is to know about DM.
Oh, stop.
Or at least how to show you how to do DM. As we mentioned earlier, if you would like to check out a virtual trade show, Julie Jacobson and the people over at CE Pro is going to have one on Thursday, October 27th, from 10 to 5. You go to ceprolive.com, ceprolive.com. My name is Tim Albright. Thank you much for joining us. If you'd like, please go by the website. Let us know what you think. Let us know how to improve it. Give us your 2 cents. That is avnation.tv, avnation.tv. That's all the time we have for AV Week.